I'm going to call the meeting to order. Will you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening. Welcome to the Monday, October 6, 2025 meeting of the Westport Select Board. Under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, this meeting is being recorded. Just by way of comments from the chair, our next meeting is in 2 weeks on the 20th of October. I just want to say thank you to the Animal Control Office and those who participated in the rabies clinic that we had recently. I didn't hear how many people went out there, but it was a community event put on by that department. I want to make note the town hall is closed on Monday for a federal holiday. Also, anyone coming to town hall next week, make sure you check the website. We're having some work done on the HVAC system, and some of the departments are closing as they are moving through the building. So check the website. I believe the assessors and the collectors are going to be closed on Tuesday, but just check the website before you come in next week. Is there any other announcements or before we start? We do have an under 48-hour rule topic that's going to come up for a cable posting for a cable part-time position. So we'll cover that at the end. Okay, our first item is a public hearing. So to welcome the harbor master here. We have our director of marine services. Sorry, you're not just the harbor master. This is a fee hearing for proposed fee increases. So we have an annual private mooring from 25 to 50, commercial mooring from 60 to 100, waterway use at 6 foot with an additional $100 fee for non-residents, state boat ramp fee from 5 to 10, season pass from 45 to 70, town wharfage fee from 30 to 40 per foot, and additional late fee of $100 for unpaid waterway fees after May 1. So welcome, Mr. Chase. You want to tell us what you got going on here?
So, Madam Chair, I guess after this season, we've got a pretty good grip on the department operationally. It's our job right now to look forward to see what the needs of the department are financially. And I think when we look at where we stand right now, we could use a little bit of help from the boating public. We're not asking for taxpayer monies here. We're simply looking, as you mentioned, for increases in the waterway users' fees. One of the things that we found when we looked at the other towns being Fairhaven, Dartmouth, Mattapoisett, and Marion, is that the fees that we charge here in Westport are a fraction of what they charge. And I don't know if it's up on that board or not, but it's roughly, what we charge is roughly 1/3 of what the other towns charge. So it's kind of put us in a little bit of a financial hole, if you will, when we look at our needs going forward. Now let me just give you a little bit of context, and everyone else for that matter, as to what makes up the Port of Westport. And these are from 2024 figures because we're still working on 2025. People are still getting their applications in the first week of October. So in 2024's data, there were 1,396 boats in the Port of Westport. 727 of them were resident boats, 626 were non-residents. So it's about a 52 to 48 split between the two. The total length of all these vessels, if you put them all together, is about 27,864 feet. Now, where that comes into play is that we charge $6 per foot for every vessel that stays on the Westport River for more than 14 days. We're not asking for an increase in that. We are hoping that $6 fee stays the same. In addition to that, there are 426 private moorings. There are 289 commercial moorings. That actually includes 33 that belongs to Leach that have been inactive for quite some time. The bottom line to all of this is that the average cost of permitting for a boat owner in the Port of Westport is $123.76. Pretty small amount in my book. So when we add all this up and we compare this to Dartmouth, Fairhaven, Mattapoisett, Marion, we see that we are well below the curve on all of this. On top of that, we have some pressing financial needs that these fees will have to hopefully help us address. And there are a number of issues that we want to talk about as far as where this money would go, because, you know, I think just politically, if you work for the government and you say, I want some more money, you're going to have to say, you're going to have to explain why you need it and also what you intend to do with it. First and foremost, and Rick will speak to the whole ramp issue, what happens at the state boat ramp, which is a fairly, well, it's a small percentage of what we take in, but it's about $20,000 annually. But the cost of the system that is currently in place, from a labor and paperwork point of view, takes an awful lot away from the $5 fees that we collect. So what we're proposing to do is to take that paper system out and put in place an automated kiosk. The cost of that kiosk is about $10,000. There are cheaper ones, there are more expensive ones, so $10,000 is a working figure. The pump-out boat that we have, which we use to empty the holding tanks of the boats that are in the harbor, is in need of dire replacement. It should have been retired yesterday. The cost of a properly outfitted pump-out boat is about $100,000. I got that figure from a gentleman named Cecil French, who works for the CVA department up in Gloucester. We would have to match that cost with 25%. We need additional funding for more seasonal help. We've got about $12,000 right now budgeted for seasonal help. These are the assistant harbor masters, if you will. We need more help in the labor department. So in order to get more labor, more man hours, or labor hours, if you will, we need more money put in that category. The town dock is in dire need of new deck planking. We have been doing that kind of on a patchwork basis. It's not so much the cost of the materials, the planks itself, but it's labor intense to replace those. Additionally, the cost of our insurance in 2025 was $17,000. That was up from $10,000 the year before. What's it going to be in 2026? Your guess is as good as mine. I mean, so those are the major topics, major focuses that we have as far as where all these monies would go to. But I think essentially, if you look at the philosophy that Rick and I have employed, and that is to get more boats, more bodies out on the river, to be a bigger presence, and everything that goes with that, this all costs money. And I think we are just way behind the curve when it comes to comparable fees charged by neighboring port towns. So, I mean, that's the essence of why we need all of this. And again, we are not looking for taxpayer money. We are simply asking the boating public to gin up a little bit more to help out the cause here.
And thank you. Jim, can you explain where these fees go? Does all of these go into the waterways enterprise, or does some go to the general fund? Like, where does it go?
These go into the waterways enterprise.
Yes.
We do have a small indirect charge that we charge that enterprise on a yearly basis, but these would go into the enterprise.
It goes into the enterprise fund, so they use specifically for
Use the
things
name
related to the
of
department.
capital stuff. Boat engines, I think last year, they purchased a boat a few years ago.
Mhm.
It hasn't gone into salaries.
Okay. One of the bigger jumps that you have in here is, and I really appreciate how you did you present a lot of information. It's more than just, this is just the summary, but one of the bigger jumps you had in here was a late fee. So do you want to talk about that?
Yeah. If there is no consequence to human behavior, then, you know, the honor system kicks in, and we all know that is fatally flawed. Rick and I, even today, and probably tomorrow and next week, and hopefully not next month, we're still processing paper applications from people who have not paid their fees yet. I sent out a letter on Monday, we sent out a letter on Monday to 352 people who were on the database that we inherited to ask them to pay up. And what we have found is that some of them haven't had boats in the water for years. That spreadsheet just had not been updated. And some people have come in rather sheepishly with their check in hand and paid up. So we're slowly whittling all of that down. So my feeling is, the other towns all have late fees. And, Westport's got late fees. If you're late on your excise tax, you're going to get dinged for $30. If there is no consequence, then the action of that individual is probably not what we'd like it to be. Basically, we want to force them to pay their fees in 2026 by May 1. If they don't pay it by May 1, then a $100 late fee would apply.
So can you talk about the calendar for your department? Because a lot of the town calendars go from July 1 to June 30th. So what's the calendar for when your department is collecting fees? Does it start in January? Is it January?
So I need to take a step back, Madam Chair. We are instituting an online portal in 2026. We're planning to launch that after the first of the year, after the holidays. And that will allow all of these boaters to go online, identify themselves, update their information, and pay their fees. And we would like all of those fees paid by May 1st so that we're not running around in the middle of the summer collecting checks. So this is just, if it was up to me, it would be more than that. But
I was just trying to understand how late May 1st is. Like, is it December? Like, is it January what is the period of time that
what had happened in the past is that the mailing of all these fees happened in April, and they were due by June 1st. And as you can clearly see by what Rick and I have been through, no one's really paying attention to that. So we need to get those fees put out there prior to the start of the season, which is why May 1st, I think, is the appropriate date. I give you an example of what they do in Dartmouth. If you haven't paid your fees by May 1st in Dartmouth, whatever you think you had, mooring, dock, whatever, is all going to go away. They're really tough over there, and I think rightfully so. So the $100 fee is basically to get everyone to pay up so we can take care of our financial end and then do what we do best, which is spend time out on the water with everyone.
Okay, I still don't think you answered the question. So you're gonna ask that, so we want them paid by May 1. So when are we going to tell people that they can start paying for the year?
That would be right after January 1st.
Okay, so it's basically, that's what the beach passes do, right? What is the beach?
Yeah, they start January 1st.
January 1st. So it's basically the same as the beach pass. You start in January, you start collecting fees. So you're just suggesting that if you have it between January and April 30th, paid your waterway fee, now you're late. 'Cause that's plenty of time. Okay, all right. Those are my questions. Anybody else have? Yep.
If I could ask these gentlemen, when are these fees last increased?
It depends which one you ask for, Dick. I can tell you all of them, just give me a second. It's been years.
That's probably all the answer I need to know.
It looks like 2023, or in 2024, they went from the moorings went from 15 to 25, and the waterways went from 5 to 6.
So I can tell you, as far as the private moorings go, in 2013, they were $10, and obviously right now they're $25. So they've increased incrementally between 2013 and now, so 12 years. The waterways fees in 2013 were $3.30. They're currently $6. The commercial mooring fee, which is trips and Spindle Rock, Eddie Carey, they have been $60 per mooring as far as I could find, looking back.
And the ramp.
Oh, and then the ramp fee, of course, has been $5 forever. I couldn't even tell you how long that's been the case. But I think when people who use the ramp come up to you and say, boy, you guys ought to raise these fees, maybe we should.
That tells you something. You should always listen to your
But
customers.
it's not just that, Dick. It's other people talking about other categories, like,
Yeah.
it's so cheap here is the common theme that we get. And when you realize that, yes, it is cheap here, and you look at where we need to go in the future, it's time to act.
Thank you.
So I appreciate the presentation. I think I'm happy to hear that it all goes to Marine Services, as opposed to the general fund where it get distributed. So this will go to the purposes that you're trying to fix. And this is probably impossible, but do you know if any other communities on a state boat ramp can charge different amounts based on a resident and non-resident? It's
Jake, I can answer that. Cap. The state boat ramp was built under the, I forget what it's called, it was a state program. So you cannot charge in that situation, you can't charge for residents, it was called a safe harbors or something along that line. And what that does is that opens it up to anybody who wants to use it. And I have to tell you, the way we're processing it, and the captain can attest to this, every single penny that comes into that ramp, I put my hands on, and I read the envelopes, and you would not believe where the communities that people come from, many times, twice, 3 times a week, to use that ramp, because it's only $5. If you, just by example, I have a list here, we can go through it, but just by example, if you go down to Sandwich today, right now, it's $20 with a 4-hour minimum to use their ramp. So if you're halfway along the Cape or you're up in Taunton up that way, it's easy to come to Westport for $5 for all day long. So, and I will say this, Jake, just as an aside, is that we have had an incredible support from the police department since we instituted the system that we're using now. Chief Dunn has had the personnel come down, and people are starting to toe the mark down there. And I know that it helps the town beach. People aren't parking at the ramp for $5 and then walking down to the town beach. They're not walking down to Baker's Beach as much, and they're not walking down to the State Beach as much. So I guess that's a long-winded answer for your short question.
I appreciate the enforcement, especially towards the end of the summer. There was much stronger enforcement, and hopefully a few people get tickets and make a decision that it's not worth it at that point. On the kiosk, and this is probably a little bit outside of the scope of the services, but the kiosk you're thinking about putting in, is that going to print out a ticket and go on a dashboard? I know the State Beach has a similar setup, but with zero Wi-Fi, zero enforcement. Essentially, I would guess 75% of the people go to the State Beach for free now because nobody does it. How is that enforcement going to work on kind of a kiosk at that ramp?
It's going to be an automated version of what we're doing today. Right now, what we do is we take the envelopes, and they're all hand-stuffed with a red card, and it's on the occupant or the owner of that vehicle to fill out the red card and leave it on the dashboard. And then the Westport Police will go in. If you don't have a red card on your dashboard or you don't have the permit, the annual permit in your windshield, you get a tag. So this kiosk, which is much like the ones that they use at the T in Fall River, New Bedford, or pretty much everywhere you go in the world, you'll use your debit card, your ATM card, or whatever you have, and that no cash. And you will pay the fee, you'll get a little ticket goes in the window, it's dated, time-stamped, and then Westport PD will come by and tag those who have not complied. It's only good for the end of the day, it's a 24-hour period. And then that money is all downloaded electronically, we don't even touch it. So that saves a huge piece of man-hours, because every day, a couple hours a day is spent, especially in the summertime, even more so, taking that money out, handling the cash, depositing the cash, and then putting the envelopes in. So that way, it also reduces fraud.
Just one more. I'm fully supportive of the late fee. I think if you're in October and you enjoyed the entire summer on your boat, then you probably should have already paid. Will there be a situation, I guess, from an enforcement standpoint, if it's not paid by May 1st, you still have that $100 late fee, but if people are still using the waterways throughout the summer without doing that, would there be additional fees you could charge at a later date, similar to?
Well, it certainly could be, Jake. The waterways regulations stipulate what we can and cannot do as far as enforcement goes. I mean, it gives us the authority to actually, in the worst-case scenario, to actually have the boat pulled out of the water. So we do have the mechanisms in place to enforce to that degree if we chose to. I would hope that that would never happen.
Okay. Appreciate it. I've spoken to a lot of boaters that I know and pretty positive feedback from everybody with the work you guys are doing and the fees. I mean, laying out or comparing to other communities, I think is very helpful to show where we are and where we want to go and be basically competitive with some of them. So appreciate all the work you guys are doing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else from the board? This is a public hearing. Is there anybody from the public who has anything? You can just go over to the microphone.
Good evening. The problem with the late fee is that if you don't get your boat in, let's say you have a medical situation and you don't get your boat into the water by the 1st of May, and you're unsure whether you're going to do it, and you physically get back on your feet and you can't get your boat in the water till the middle of July, why should you have to pay that late fee? That's a problem. You're paying for services that weren't rendered. That's a real problem. Everything else is fine. I understand everything else, the kiosk and all that. I did question myself who's going to enforce it. You know what I mean? But apparently that has been figured out. But the late fee, because you didn't pay your waterways usage when you're laid up in a hospital bed, that's a problem. I don't think any taxpayer is going to be very happy with that.
So typically, there's a waiver process, or what's the word I'm looking for here? When you have extenuating circumstances, you can,
It'd be an appeal.
yeah, you'd appeal. Is the word I was looking for. Certainly, there's an appeal process where you can appeal in a situation like that. But what about the difference between late versus
Delinquent.
well, so a late fee versus someone coming in the middle of the summer or something like that? Or have you thought through the scenarios like what he just mentioned?
I have not, no. That's a legitimate beef, and I agree with that. If someone like that walked into the shack and sat down with Rick and I said, look, I've been in the hospital bed for a month, and it's July 1st, and I couldn't get my boat in the water, we're not going to ask for $100 from a man or a woman like that. So I think you would find us pretty reasonable folks when it comes to something like that. So, we're not here to be hard asses. What we're here to do is to try to encourage everyone to pay up on time, so we're not spending our summer days processing paperwork. But that is legitimate beef, and I don't disagree with any of that.
So, and I also think there's a chain of command so let's say that you had a situation like that, and these guys are like, no, you're gonna have $100. You'd be able to appeal to the select board in a situation like that.
I just think that's crazy. I mean, I think they need to get to square one, find out what boaters are using the river, not using the river. Please ask that the fees, if you are planning to get the boat in the water, be paid by a certain date. That's all great. The state ramp, I think there needs to be some more enforcement on the amount of cars that are paying to park there without trailers. You see cars parked in the main lot and on the side without trailers because it's easy to pay $5 fee. No one checks to see if the truck and if the car actually has a trailer on it. I have noticed cars without trailers in both lots. I think that needs to be enforced. It's a truck, it's a boat ramp, not a parking lot.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
He makes a great point, but we also, that ramp has to be open to kayakers, canoes. Some vessels don't have trailers, and we cannot throw people out of the ramp or tell them they can't use the ramp because they're kayakers, and we have a lot of kayakers in there. But what we do and what Westport Police does, and they do it very well, they look at the car, they'll look for trailer hitches, they'll look for racks for kayaks, they'll look for anything that's going to let them know that this person actually used the ramp, as opposed to the whatever vehicle it is just pulls in there. That's the one that gets tagged. It's very easy to determine if a vehicle has been using the ramp for the appropriate reasons. Now, are there cracks that people are going to slip through? Of course they are. We're all humans. So, but I will give kudos to the people that are responsible for that they act responsibly and ensure that, to the best of their knowledge, that people are using the ramp and just not parking there to run down the beach or whatever. So, is it a perfect system? No. Is it a much better system than we have? Yes. And our goal is to continue to improve it. One of the issues that came up is, and we actually talked to Fish fishers about this. Somebody has a boat, and they have 5 people that are going on their boat, there's 5 cars that are taking up spots, and we've asked those people, we know who they are, because we're over there every day, we've asked those people, you're gonna have to carpool. You just can't be parking, you can't fill this trailer lot up with cars that have no indicator that they're using the boat ramp to launch any type of vessel. So, I mean, literally, people could launch an inner tube over there. It's that simple.
I think that kind of speaks, though, to why you need more money, so that you can have more assistants out there monitoring stuff like that, patrolling things like that, you know?
If I could just respond to the gentleman quickly. Yesterday, Rick called me in the morning. He said the boat ramp is full. The overflow parking lot is like half full. So I got there at 8 o'clock. My first turn was through the ramp, through the overflow parking. There were clearly cars parked there that shouldn't have been there. So I called Westport Police Dispatch, and they sent somebody down, and everybody got ticketed. We have the enforcement that we currently have in place is miles ahead of what it was on July 1. And I think we need to thank Rick for all that. That's a lot of the hard work that he's done to get some level of enforcement in there, because prior to January 1, there was none.
No, going forward, Madam Chair, you know, again, we're starting from ground zero here. To answer the gentleman's question, at some point, you know, it may be a time that we have to partner again with the state or DCR to reconfigure that overflow lot. But they don't have the time or the money right now, nor do we. But I think that the system we're putting in place is going to kind of tamp that down a little bit, and people will get the message.
All right, is there any other comments from the public? Go ahead,
I would
Jim.
just suggest that the board does approve the fees, that we look at a formal process for the fee waiver, for the late fee waiver, so we have something on record and it's
Sure.
not considered arbitrary.
Okay, I move we approve the proposal as submitted with the understanding that it will have a fee waiver policy attached to it.
Second.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's 4 in favor, 1 absent. Do you have anything going on this weekend?
Busy.
Still chasing down fees?
Besides fees, I was thinking of a fundraiser that is scheduled for this weekend.
Oh,
Shellfish Propagation Fund.
thank you. Thank you. So,
Am I the only one that remembers this?
We're talking about next weekend, not last weekend.
Not last weekend,
Next week,
this
yeah,
weekend is
yeah.
the weekend coming up.
Oh, I thought you were talking about how busy we were. with the nice
Sunday,
weather.
there's an event scheduled for
Yes,
Sunday to
yes.
benefit, what is it benefiting?
and we will all be there, yeah. So this is at the Buzzards Bay Brewery. I want to say 3 to 7, the Funky White Honkies are doing a fundraiser for 2 causes. The Shellfish Propagation Fund is one, and the other one escapes me, but it was a very worthy cause. This is something that I think Jack Scammell was leading the charge on. He's a member of the Funky White Honkies. We did not have shell stock, unfortunately, this summer. That's an event that usually generates $30,000 to $40,000 for the Shellfish Propagation Fund, which allows us to purchase more contaminated cohogs to plant in the river. So I think Jack kind of took it upon himself to say, we need to do something and put this event together. So there are still tickets available. It's, I believe, $65 for a carload. Bring a big car, I guess.
Like they're
Do I need a
keeping
trailer on that?
Look like they're keeping an eye on the weather, though, so.
Like the old
Yeah.
days at
see
the
how that
drive-in.
goes.
Let's make it simple for our audience. So when, where, and what time?
Sunday,
So when is Sunday, 3 to 7, I believe.
Yeah,
And it's at Buzzards Bay Brewery.
okay.
And it's a fundraiser for the Shellfish Propagation Fund, and I apologize for the other
I'm trying
folks,
to
that-
find
yeah,
it
yeah.
fast.
I knew you said that, but it just, good soundbite.
And the word is the tickets are pretty close to sold out.
Yeah,
So where do you get them, though?
you can get them online,
Get them online.
Okay.
Yeah.
They were on Eventbrite,
Eventbrite, yeah.
Yeah.
and I can't immediately put my fingers on them.
Thank you for that, Madam Chair. I wrote that down and totally
And
forgot about
then you were also in the paper recently about shellfish, so tell us about that.
Oh, that was Rick's deal. You can speak to that.
Well, we took almost $10,000 of the Shellfish Propagation Fund money, and we purchased 230,000 baby cohogs. And when I mean a baby cohog, they were less than the size of a dime, smaller than the size of a dime. Me thinking we'd need a tractor trailer to get them here, we got them in the back of a pickup truck, they were that small. But what we did was we planted them in areas, we talked to members of the Shellfish Advisory Board and among some of the fishes, and we determined on the areas that we think there's gonna be growth and areas we wanna open in the future so that the recreational fishes have more access to the river, as opposed to just the commercial people who use boats to get to where they wanna go. So we put them in areas where we think they're gonna grow, areas that are pretty clean, have a great sandy bottom. So we're hoping in 18 months to a year or so, 2 years or so, we'll have cohogs that'll be of harvestable size. We're gonna lose some, of course, due to predation, but we'll, our hope is that we'll get a sizable crop and that they will reproduce and go from there.
I found it. So this is the Funky White Honkies at Buzzards Bay Brewing on Sunday, October 12th. The band is playing from 2 to 5. The beneficiaries are the Westport Shellfish Propagation Fund and the Mundia Academy of Excellence, which provides education and care for children in Kenya. So, we got children and shellfish. There we go. All right, anything else, gentlemen, while we have these guys? Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, can I just say one more thing? I would be remiss if I didn't thank Rick, Kevin Carter, Andrew Manchester, and Jim Perry for making the department look really good this summer. We jumped right into the fire, and if it wasn't for the action of those 4 gentlemen, I don't think we would have been nearly as successful as we were. So I just want to put that on record.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you
Bravo.
for all the work you've done.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Good evening.
Good night.
Next on the agenda, we have appointments and resignations. So we have a request to appoint a select board representative to the Cable Advisory Board. I'm willing to serve on this unless somebody else wants to. Somebody else want it? Okay, I will entertain a motion to appoint me to the Cable Advisory Board.
Motion, we appoint Sean Ortiz to the
Second.
Cable Advisory.
All in favor?
Aye.
That's 4 in favor and 1 absent. We have a request to appoint Mark Thompson to the Historical Commission. Do I have a motion?
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It's 4 in favor and 1 absent. So we have an action item is a request to approve the contract change order for Diggett Construction. This is the last major change order for Diggett Construction. It was anticipated and included in the overall budget. So I just want to clarify a few things I saw on social media this weekend. The reason that there's a change order is because we extended the original contract. So the town of Westport asked them to take on more than the original project cost. So this was not an overrun of the original project. This was the town of Westport extending the water line to additional properties that weren't in the original bid. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that Diggett Construction is the general contractor for the group, but the subcontractor that's being proposed for the finishing of the pavement is Keating. And Keating is the one that's been doing the work around town lately. You saw on Old County Road and some of the other roads that they've been around. So the change order wasn't the contractor going over, it was us extending the project. The funds that are paying for this is part of the several grants. There was a federal grant, there was an ARPA grant, and I think there was a dedicated state grant that can only be used for this particular project. So that's the reason we extended it and went into additional locations, is because the money couldn't be spent elsewhere. It had to be spent on that, and so we extended that project. So this change order would be to cover the finished paving, because we know the residents are very interested in getting that done. And then basically fixing the problem areas that are going on around there. So I think that is the summary. Jim, did I miss anything?
No, that's it. I can go into more detail if the board wants, but I think you covered everything
All right.
in general.
All right, is there anything, any questions, comments?
I would approve, I would look for a little more detail into the process.
I'm sorry?
He's going to go into more detail, so I'd like to see all that.
So we went out to bid, probably about a year and a half ago, for the waterline project out there along Route 6 in the Macumber Loop. The original contract was for $3.1 million. We've had 2 change orders to date, which total about $1.2 million. And what's before the board tonight is an additional change order for $533,000. This was a unit price contract, so all the work done is being done per quantity, right? So we bid it out as tons of asphalt, we bid it out as linear feet of piping, and they price it accordingly. So when we add scope of work to that, we added East Briggs, and I'll go through a couple of things that we've added in a minute. It goes by the unit pricing. It's not a lump sum, so it's, the contractor isn't responsible for doing additional work without getting compensated. The change orders, I mean, they were beneficial to the town, right? We had some very good favorable unit pricing for this contract. The additional scope resulted in cost-effective project expansion. We were able to do additional work. And the funds the project is being funded through grants and ARPA funds. If we don't use these funds, we lose these funds. They're dedicated to this project. So we had a $4 million grant from Mass DEP and the EPA to address PFAS contamination in some of the public water supplies. And one of them was the school itself. Macumber School had high levels of manganese. So we were able to tie the Macumber School into this project and include it in the $4 million. We had an earmark from Senator Rodericks. We had $388,000 left in that had to be dedicated to infrastructure work related to sewer and water just along Route 6. And then we had 2 ARPA grants, one for $648,000, one for $371,000. Again, the total's about $5.4 million. And if we don't use it for this project, we will be giving that back to Bristol County or the state or the federal government. So the additional scope that we did was we added East Briggs Road, which is about 1,600 feet. That was about $600,000. We added Route 6 extension, so we extended the line in Route 6 from Washington Street to 875 State Road. That's Olympia, it's a little plaza there, Olympia Pizza, UPS store is there. They have a public water supply, so this would eliminate their public water supply and put them on the town public system, which removes monthly testing for them. I'm not sure if they had contamination in their wells, but it allows them to do more things with their restaurant and so forth, because they're not limited to the public well or the public water supply that they have now. All these, we did 5th and 6th Street, those were additions. Those were off Osborne Street, it's about 600 feet, 400 feet, I think, 425 feet for 5th and 6th Street, because as we were going Osborne Street, we had residents on those streets that had trouble with their water, and they expressed concern. They asked if we could connect them. We had some additional funding, so we included that. That was about $150,000. We also were able to use the ARPA funds to connect the actual properties from the sidewalk area into the foundation, which was a great incentive for people to tie in now. And we want people to tie in because it helps offset economy of scales with the overall enterprise fund of the water system, and it helps offset some of those costs. We did supply service connections or curb stops to every property within the area. So Osborne Street, Gifford Road, Greenwood, East Briggs, Route 6, they all have curb stops in front of their house. If they ever want to tie in, they can tie in. They don't have to tie in, but it's there if they need it. All these change orders were reviewed in detail by the IOC committee, by Kleinfelder Engineering, by our project manager for Incemcorp. In our infrastructure oversight committee, we're fortunate. We have a very sophisticated, very experienced committee. We have an engineer who's probably one of the top in the state, if not the country. We had a contractor who's been doing this work for 30 to 40 years. We had an inspector that's been inspecting this type of work all his career. We had business leaders from Route 6 area. So everything's been looked at in detail on this contract. The other addition we have is we have additional paving along Route 6. So when we went for the permit with Mass DOT, we were required to supply them with detailed plans, and it showed every service connection that we were doing to the properties. It showed the patching that we were gonna do, how we were gonna do the patching, and it's actually 3 patches. One's a temporary, one's on what they call the middle one, and then a permanent patch. And we showed the limits of those patches, and it was all approved by Mass DOT. And we realized that when you get to the end of the project, Mass DOT comes out and says, well, we want you to pave more, we want you to expand the patches, and that's where we are now. So some of this change order, not a lot, but enough to make a difference is part of that process. And the benefits, you know, all the properties have access to public water supply if they want it. If they don't, they can stay on their own wells. It addresses the PFAS contamination and manganese in private and some of the public wells. It supports both the residential and business areas. Fire hydrants are installed in the Macomb neighborhood and installed up and down Route 6, affording fire protection to everybody in that area, whether they're connected to the water or not. And the infrastructure itself is designed for future expansion. If they wanted to go further along Route 6, if we wanted to go, and there's consideration to go east down Briggs Road towards the fire station across Route 88. The fire station well does have PFAS contamination in it. And as you get further down Briggs Road, closer to Sanford Road, there's been a lot of PFAS contamination. And to address PFAS, it's expensive, right? So I think they were quoted for the apartment complex off of Route 6 over $100,000 to put a filtration system in. So this eliminates the need to do that. So that's where we are. The change orders, I don't want to say they're expected, but we anticipated them. They're within budget, and they'll be covered by the grants and the ARPA funds.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I got a few questions. Who's the actual project manager on site for all this project?
So we have two, right? We have project manager is Roger Fernandez with FernSem, and we also have ECI, who we hired to be on site all the time. They're working as inspectors.
Okay, so you said Roger Fernandez from Fern Corp?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. When it goes out to bid and we have the low bidder, it seems like the strategy now is to have change orders to make up the difference. I believe that they probably would not be the low bidder if they were given the opportunity and actually looked at the project as a whole. I know you talked about Mass DOT changes to design and various other things that happen maybe after the fact, but I don't believe that this contractor put the time and effort in to figure out what the Mass DOT standards are. I mean, I have a form right here from the utility trench permanent pavement repair from Mass DOT, which does not change. They're very strict with respect to what needs to be done. And my fear is that they didn't take into account a lot of the changes and a lot of the standards that Mass DOT has in place, including thickness of pavement and repaving. Just at that last meeting, I asked if, you know, everything was kind of moving forward with that, and there was no concern PJ Keating was going to, you know, do the resurfacing and put the roads back to their original condition. And now we're 2 weeks later and trying to approve a change order. I mean, if you look at contracts specifically, I don't think a business, any private business would run in this fashion where they would have a project and then decide, oh, we're going to spend another 1.8 million on our, you know, on top of our contract. If you look at Massachusetts specifically, they really shouldn't, change orders should not exceed 25% with procurement laws in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Right now, Diggett is at 55% of their contract with respect to change orders. So I probably will reluctantly vote in favor of this, but this is another example of how the management and the project management of this has gone awry. You know, we talk about Bread and Cheese Brook. Well, they said it had to be buried 5 inches. Well, that was already part of Mass DOT of where that needed to go and where that needed to be put in. You know, we're talking about where we lose this grant money, but this grant money still could be used for further expansion and extension of the water line. So it's going to come at a cost to some project. It's not going to be, it's not like, oh, we're just going to take that money or it would have gone back. It would probably be able to be used to give water to more people. Again, you know, we're talking about new customers. We're only getting about a third or a 30% buy-in into using Westport water from the residents that are getting this water line put in front of them. So I am just concerned from a business and a private business standpoint that there are standards, there are Mass DOT standards. I don't think this low bidder looked at it. I think we're at, you know, we're caught holding the bag. It is not, again, at the cost of any taxpayers, but it is money that probably could be used for further expansion of the water line. And again, we're talking about a $4.9 million contract price, and their original contract price was $3.1 million. So It's ridiculous that you had 1.8 million in change orders.
So
No questions, that's just what I'm
I
leaving.
just want to point out that over 1 million of those change orders were at the request of the town. The town extended the project for an excess of $1 million because we had a low unit price and low linear foot price. We were able to do that. So I appreciate that some of those ones, like you talked about the slip line and then maybe the additional paving, there might have been some opportunity there. I don't know. You could have a point there, but the bulk of that change order was the town changing it, not the contractor not providing the service or misestimating it. They estimated what we asked them to, and then we added on after we had favorable pricing.
But right now, there's not favorable pricing with the asphalt. They did not take into account the raw material cost, and that's why the cost from PJ Keating is going to be higher than what they expected. So, I mean, and that was paramount to putting the roads back in the original usable condition, and that seemed to be lacking from the contract.
All right, thank you. Anything else?
So with the asphalt, the only increase in price is the escalation clause, which comes in with liquefied asphalt. So there's a set fee when you go out to bid, and when the asphalt goes down, if that cost of the liquid asphalt goes up or down, you adjust the contract accordingly. I think it's about $6,000 difference on a probably $500,000-$600,000 paving job.
Thank you. Anything else from the board? Anything from the public?
My name's Virginia Graham, and I live on Osborne Street. And I don't know who was supposed to be supervising, but whoever it was really looked the other way. Everything is sunk, there's big pit holes. It's ridiculous. It's not even close to the way it used to be. Never mind. I mean, they patched, and the patches are sinking, If you go down Arlington Street where the gas company put in a line, they put a patch, and it's nice and smooth. Osborne Street and Gifford Road are outrageous. None of you live there. I live there. A lot of the people who live there are very, very unhappy. And I do have a question. Who is the town that decided to extend or requested it be extended? Who is that?
The Infrastructure Oversight Committee recommended to the Select Board. The Select Board agreed to extend the contract.
Okay, so it had nothing to do with the people who actually live in the town.
Your representatives on the Infrastructure Oversight Committee and the Select Board are the ones that made the decision.
So in other words, be careful who you vote for.
Thank you.
Thank
Always the
you.
case.
Can you just talk about, Jim, what kind of warranty we have? So when this paving is done, hopefully in a few weeks, when they do the paving, if you see additional, if there's more sinking or if it doesn't, can you just talk about the warranty?
So the warranty with the paving is for 3 years upon completion of the final paving. So if there is some additional settlement, they are responsible to come out and fix it.
Are they going to grind what's there and put, or are they going to just pave over the disaster that's there now?
So they're gonna grind along the edges 10 feet from either side, so it'll cover some of the patch, but not all the patch.
And then they're just
They
going
end
to,
up doing some leveling courses in some areas where if the patch is poor, they will do a leveling course and then the final. But in most cases, they're gonna grind, I think it's 10 feet on either side of the street. So it should cover the majority of the patch.
okay, thank you.
Not all of it, but the majority of it.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yep.
PJ Keating will be obviously doing that paving. They have done a great job on other town roads. Fortunately for us, that the low bidder is not going to be doing the asphalt job, in my opinion. My only other concern is that, when we come for these change orders, we have somewhat of a list of what the costs are, but the explanation, in my opinion, is somewhat vague. Again, from more of a private business sense, I would like it to be like line item listing of costs, where it's going to and how it's being spent, as opposed to, $250,000 for bread and cheese crossing. Okay, there's a lot of room in there for stuff to happen that I don't necessarily think is on the up and up. Thank you.
I can assure you nothing's happened.
I can also assure you that the Infrastructure Oversight Committee, Kleinfelder, and Burnquist Corporation have also reviewed the contracts in detail as our project manager.
But I can get you that detail list per item.
I am the select board member on the IOC, and this was news to me when it was posted on the agenda on Friday.
All right, thank you. Do we have a motion?
I have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is the water running?
I don't think so. Is,
Yes, we do have properties hooked up. The school's running, Osborne Street's running. The part of Route 6, they still have one section that isn't live.
Are the hydrants online?
The hydrants should be live.
Okay, just, that was, because I didn't get it.
Madam Chair, I recommend we make a motion to approve the contract change order to Diggett Construction as described.
Second.
any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'm opposed, actually. I've decided that I'm not happy with
We
the
have
process.
3 in favor, 1 opposed, and 1 absent, so that passes. We don't have any discussion items, so we are on the town administrator report.
Thank you. So I don't know if somebody else wants to give an update on the search committee. I can hold off on that if.
Do you want?
Dick?
We're,
Craig and I are on.
Oh, sorry,
we've,
Craig.
we've selected 6 people to interview. We're gonna be interviewing them on the 14th and 15th in the afternoon. The hope, I'm always a little skeptical that we'll get it done at sometime after 6:30 PM on Wednesday, the 15th, because it may take longer than that. But I think that we will have interviewed all the candidates, and the feeling is that we have enough of a range of expertise and talents that are qualified, that bring different strengths and complementary strengths to the job. So I think we'll be satisfied with who we hire. And I think that the difficulty will be probably more in eliminating people than in who we select.
That's a good problem to have.
Yes.
And just to follow up on what Craig said, I think, we've had a really good process. We had a good meeting to screen through the resumes. Ended up with around, I think, 29, 30 resumes for the position. Brought that down to the 6 that will be interviewed. It's a good mix, as Craig pointed out, of private sector, either past or current administrators, and even a mix of Westport residents as well. So I think it will be helpful in our decision-making process. Our hope is we bring 3 forward to the select board, but you never know. We could decide on 3, and in the past, some have pulled out because they don't want it to be publicly known based on their past employment. But our goal is hopefully to come forward with 3 candidates for the select board to interview and go through the public process with those 3. So that's our goal, and we'll hopefully get that squared away next week.
29 for a search is actually a fairly robust number.
Pretty good.
And I was talking, that a lot of towns have been involved in searches recently, close to here. And at least one other community I was speaking with didn't get anywhere near 29 applicants, so.
All right, thank you. All right, Jim?
Town Hall HVAC system, as you can see, it's currently working. They've been working here for a couple of weeks now. We've got 2 units right there against the wall that should be going in Wednesday or Thursday up in the ceiling. They should be finishing the ceiling units on here next week. They're still working down on the first floor. We had some asbestos tiles that they need to abate. So when they do the drilling through the floor for the downstairs units, they will have to section off those areas. They're gonna do it on a Saturday. They will take the tiles out. I think each office is just 1 square tile, but they need to section off the whole area. They'll come back on Monday or Tuesday, depending if it's a holiday, test the air quality, and then give the okay for the staff to come back. So I think right now we're looking at Tuesday, possibly the assessors and the collector's office will be closed, and the following Monday, the other side, treasurer and town clerks will be closed. The upstairs we can keep open because we do not have any drilling through the floor. But they're moving fairly quick, and yeah, it's been a little inconvenient for the workers here, noisy with drilling, so I appreciate them just hanging in there, and hopefully it'll be a good system. We'll get those air conditioners that are hanging out the window every summer. They'll be gone, and we'll have air conditioning and heat. We also have some electrical credits that we had purchased years ago that we will be able to use to offset some of the electrical costs with these heating units. We did get a couple of grants that came in over the last week or so. The planning department was awarded an $87,000 grant from Rural Development Fund to support Westport Village zoning review and update. They said this will play a key role in advancing important planning activities within the village. The planning department has remained proactive in identifying and applying for external funding opportunities, enabling continued progress on critical planning efforts while minimizing the financial impact on the town's operating budget. We've been receiving a number of grants over the last few years. All the departments have really put in the effort to seek out funding in different areas. The Westport Fire Department has been awarded through the highly competitive Federal Assistance Firefighters Grant, AFG, the amount of $56,000 that'll be put towards updating the EMS equipment that'll enhance the safety of our patients and firefighters, paramedics. The funding will provide the department with 3 new state-of-the-art stair chairs designed for carrying patients and equipment up and down the stairs and in and out of any location. They can also be used to carry equipment. They have LED lighting and motorized treads that will help that process out. And we were just notified by Chief Dunn that he received a $23,390 grant from the JAG program, the Justice Administration Grant Program. The grant funding allocated through this office was awarded to law enforcement agencies statewide to address public safety concerns. Chief Dunn asked me to express his appreciation to the board, to the governor, to Senator Rodericks and Rep. Steve Roulette for their support in getting this grant. He'd also asked to thank Deputy Chief Robert Rebello and IT Director Keith Novo for their collaboration identifying a need within the department at a cost savings to our town. So those are good things.
Thank you. Anything for Jim? Okay, we have minutes.
Yep, I was able to review those. I have a motion to approve September 8th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent.
And then I also reviewed the September 22nd minutes. Motion to approve the September 22nd meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, that's 4 in favor and 1 absent. Report on the bill warrant.
Madam Chair, the bill warrant was routine. Still a lot of money, $2 million, but that's generally what we run throughout the year, and everything was in order, and I didn't have any additional comments. And that does not need to be approved. It's just a report, as you know.
Okay, liaison committee reports and suggestions for future agenda items. Jake?
I do not have anything to report on tonight. Thank you.
This is for Jake.
Dick, do you have anything?
Yes, I do. I have one committee that I want to talk about, future meetings. We had the first meeting of the Capital Improvements Planning Committee. We discussed the police department's needs, and the fire department as well, the animal control of Board of Health and the marine services. So we're off and running. As you know, we don't make decisions yet. We put these in the hopper, so to speak, and we later on assess which ones are deemed most critical, and that will continue now for the next couple of months. So that's the only report for a committee. I did want to bring up 2 items for possible future discussion. And these, both of them emanate from the Landing Commission. So at the last meeting of the Landing Commission, I go there as, not a member, but as the liaison from the Select Board, as you know, a non-voting position. And what they would like to do, this is by vote of the Landing Commission, is talk about the Hicks Bridge Landing. Mr. Jeff Bull, the chair, has been in here to discuss that from time to time. And we need to do some major work, and if you recall, he had plans, and I think the Conservation Commission looked at this. But he makes an important point that we need to know, and that is, it is not the Landing Commission that owns Hicks Bridge Landing. It is the town. And the ultimate arbitrators for that, it would be us, the Select Board. And he's suggesting that, and he'd like to come in and talk about this, that they've gone pretty much as far as they can go as a Landing Commission and he really wishes to, in effect, hand this over to us for further deliberation or planning. And we're talking here about a possible multi-year project to get that to where it should be. And of course, the money, we would be seeking grant money along the way, and that's certainly not guaranteed, as we know. But his point is more fundamental than that, is that the Landing Commission shouldn't be handling this anymore. They had been involved in this at the request of a prior select board years ago. But it's pretty much run its course, and they feel they can't do anything more, and it has to be with us. So he's going to come and make that appeal. I would support that because it's common sense. It is town landing, not Landing Commission landing, and we're the ones who have to make decisions on this, for better or for worse.
Oh, thank you.
The second item is also from the Landing Commission, and this is a possible item for a future meeting. It's, once again, a familiar discussion about the Westport Point traffic, parking, and other issues relating to the relatively small nature of the point and active businesses there that are successful, and a lot of people visiting there during the summer, whatever reason, sometimes just passing through. So, as we know, there was a committee started by, I believe, the previous town administrator as the result of work done by Mr. Sean Leach to delineate how the point is situated in terms of public property, town property. The Landing Commission has authority over a slice of it, or in a butter, technically speaking. But they're recommending, and again, they can't really do a lot with this because they're just one party among others, but they're basically recommending that we look at that again and continue the work that had already been started, which resulted in some improvements of paving, of signage, and also of painting of parking spaces and so on and so forth. But it's still a work in progress. It's probably going to be a work in progress for years to come. So they're recommending that, and again, would like to come before us, talk about this and suggest that we pick up where we left off and determine if there can be further measures taken. There is a letter that was written to us back in July, which interestingly, I didn't receive a copy of. It was to the select board, and it said carbon copy to select board members, even though it was addressed to a select board, but it was actually carbon copied to, from Jeff Bull, carbon copy to Jim and Paula, and then again, carbon copy to the select board, which wasn't necessary because it was directed to us. For whatever reason, I didn't see this letter, otherwise I probably would have brought it forward. But anyway, it's only in July, and there's a list of recommendations of 6 areas that should be looked at, such as disagreements about property ownership, non-compliance by local businesses with zoning board of appeal decisions. I'm not sure what those are, but they should be discussed. Obstruction of safety in fire lanes by illegally parked cars. A lot of the problem down there is cars that are parked illegally and not parked in the designated spots. So as a resident of that area, it is getting worse. It's sort of the flip side of a successful point. It's desirable and historic, but it's resulted in a lot of difficulty, as we have discussed it many, many times. So he'd like to bring that back for consideration and to go at it again and to see if we can make other improvements that will help with that situation. So he wanted, on the behalf of the Landing Commission, for me to bring that forward to the select board tonight.
Okay, thank you. Craig?
We did have, actually, I attended 2 meetings as chair of the Affordable Housing Trust since our last meeting. One was our regular meeting, and the other one was a meeting we had with a realtor, represents a party that may have some property that would be useful for affordable housing. So we're probably heading out in several different directions right now. Again, as I've mentioned in the past, the objective is to try to create an opportunity where we could develop, with a single development, a cluster of units that are affordable. It would also include non-affordable or market rate units, but it also increases because housing stock is such, if you don't If you don't build it or you don't improve it, it just worsens the problem of affordable, housing affordability. And it's not just that, it's at many different income levels. So that's what we're doing.
All right, thank you. I did not have any committee meetings. We had asked for the long-term building committee to come tonight, but Chair said that there are some long-term building meetings planned between now and the next meeting, I think, and that it would be more appropriate to come on the 20th.
I think there's something on the 16th.
Yeah, so I think we're planning to have the long-term building committee come in on the 20th. All right, anything else? Do you have any comments or statements from the public? All right, I mentioned at the beginning, we do have a topic not reasonably anticipated 48 hours in advance of the meeting. So we've had a loss of a part-time employee for the cable department, and they're looking for permission to post for that part-time position.
That's correct.
Does that adequately represent what you're?
That's exactly it.
Okay. And so we wanted to try to post it now rather than waiting 2 more weeks to start posting it. So what's the pleasure of the board?
Madam Chair, do we have a job description prior to of what it's going to be to post and all that?
I do.
Okay, perfect. Motion to post position.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's 4 in favor with 1 absent. I think that is it. Anything before we close? I will entertain a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
That's unanimous. 4 in favor, 1 absent. Thank you.
That's yours too, I think.